The late afternoon sun slanted through the blinds of my home office, casting long, lazy stripes across the hardwood floor. It was our 7th anniversary, and the scent of the expensive bouquet of lilies I'd bought for Clara still hung in the air, a sweet, cloying perfume of a life I thought was perfect. I was putting the finishing touches on a presentation, but my mind was already on the evening ahead. The reservation at the Michelin star restaurant she loved, the velvet box in my desk drawer containing a sapphire necklace that matched her eyes. Everything was perfect, or so I believed. My phone buzzed with a reminder. I needed to call the restaurant to confirm our special request, the corner booth with the view of the city lights. I patted my pockets, but my phone wasn't there. I must have left it in the living room. I walked out of the office, stretching my arms over my head, a contented sigh escaping my lips. There it was, on the coffee table, right next to Clara's sleek rose gold smartphone. As I reached for my own, I noticed her screen was lit up. A call timer was still active. Mom, 4732. She must have finished her chat and forgotten to end the call. It happens sometimes. I smiled, a small, fond quirk of my lips, and picked up her phone to end the call for her and save her battery. My thumb hovered over the red end call button, but just as I was about to press it, I heard her mother's voice, tinny and distant through the speaker. "And you're sure he has no idea? Thomas is observant, Clara." I froze, my thumb a millimeter from the screen. Why were they talking about me? A beat of silence, then Clara's voice, clear as a bell, laced with an amusement that sent a cold spike of dread into my stomach. "Mom, please. Tom thinks the sun rises and sets on our perfect little life. He's so predictable. He's probably in his office right now, planning some grand romantic gesture for tonight. It's almost sad." My heart hammered against my ribs. Sad? Predictable? This wasn't the way she spoke about me. Not ever. Her voice was usually filled with warmth, with love. This was different. This was cold, dismissive, mocking. Her mother, Evelyn, clucked her tongue. "Well, as long as you're careful. Mark is getting impatient. He said the final papers for the investment are ready. Has Thomas looked at them yet?" Mark, my best friend, my business partner on a new venture we were launching, the man who was best man at our wedding. The blood in my veins turned to ice. Why were they talking about Mark and our business deal? A deal he'd presented as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to double our savings. "He glanced at them last night," Clara replied, and I could almost picture her waving a dismissive hand. "He trusts Mark completely. Best friend, brother, all that nonsense. He'll sign them tonight, after I've softened him up with some anniversary charm. He's so easy to manage." Manage. The word hit me like a physical blow. I sank onto the edge of the sofa, my legs suddenly unable to support my weight. My breathing was shallow, ragged. This couldn't be happening. It was a nightmare. I was mishearing things. But Evelyn's next words shattered any hope of a misunderstanding. "Good. The sooner his signature is on that paper, the sooner the money is moved to the offshore account. Once it's there, it's gone. Mark assured me it's completely untraceable. You'll have your nest egg, and Thomas will be left holding the bag on a failed investment. He'll be so buried in debt he won't have the resources to fight you on the divorce settlement." Divorce, debt, offshore account. The words swirled in my head, a toxic vortex of betrayal. This wasn't just an affair. I had suspected nothing, but now the thought of Clara and Mark together was a searing image burned into my mind. But this was worse, so much worse. This was a calculated, predatory plan to destroy me, to strip me of everything I had ever worked for and leave me ruined, all orchestrated by my wife, her mother, and my best friend. Clara laughed. A sound that had once been my favorite music, now turned into something sharp and cruel. Mark was brilliant coming up with this. He's so much more decisive than Tom, so much more alive. I feel like I can finally breathe when I'm with him. Last weekend at the lake house, Mom, it was magical. The lake house. Our lake house. The one my father left me. They were together in my father's house, in our bed. The nausea rose in my throat, hot and acidic. I felt a profound, chilling disconnect from my own body, as if I were floating above the scene, watching a stranger's life implode. Just be careful, darling, Evelyn cautioned, her voice a conspiratorial whisper. Don't get sentimental tonight. Remember the goal. Secure the signature. Think about your future with Mark. A clean break, a fresh start. Thomas had his chance to make you happy. This is just business. Business? Our 7 years of marriage? Our shared dreams? The life we had built? Reduced to business? The love I felt for her, a deep, unwavering constant in my life, was just a tool to be leveraged, a weakness to be exploited. The man in the mirror this morning was a fool, a trusting, loving, blind fool. I know, Mom. Don't worry. I've got this, Clara said, her voice dripping with confidence. He'll be eating out of the palm of my hand. I'm going to go get ready now. He'll be expecting me to look perfect. I'll call you tomorrow when it's done. I love you, sweetie. Be smart. Love you too. Bye. The line went dead. The call timer stopped. The screen went dark. But the silence that followed was deafening, filled with the echoes of their treachery. I sat there for what felt like an eternity, her phone still clutched in my trembling hand. The man who picked up this phone was gone. In his place was someone hollowed out, remade by the fire of an unimaginable betrayal. A cold, hard clarity washed over me, extinguishing the initial shock and pain. They thought I was predictable. They thought I was easy to manage. They were about to find out just how wrong they were. Slowly, deliberately, I stood up. I placed her phone back on the coffee table, exactly as I had found it. I walked back to my office, closing the door softly behind me. I sat at my desk and looked at the velvet box. The sapphire necklace seemed to mock me. I opened my laptop, not to work on my presentation, but to open a new file, a secure, encrypted file. I pulled up a voice recording app on my own phone. Then, I pulled out the investment paperwork Mark had given me. The pages I had only glanced at before, I now read with the intensity of a man whose life depended on it. And it did. The legalese was dense, but the core of it was clear now that I knew what to look for. I wasn't investing in a tech startup. I was signing over power of attorney for our joint investment portfolio to a shell corporation registered in the Cayman Islands, a corporation Mark controlled. With my signature, he could liquidate everything. They could take it all. When Clara knocked on my office door an hour later, I had composed myself. The rage was still there, a white-hot furnace in my chest, but I had banked it, hidden it behind a calm facade. She was breathtaking. She wore a deep blue dress that clung to her curves, the one I loved. Her hair was styled perfectly, her makeup flawless. She smiled, a dazzling, brilliant lie. "Ready to go, handsome?" she asked, her voice a sultry purr. "Almost," I said, forcing a smile that felt like broken glass in my mouth. "Just had one last thing to look over. You know, this deal with Mark. It's a big step for us." I watched her face carefully. A flicker of something, anxiety, excitement, crossed her features before being smoothed away. "Of course, honey. But you trust Mark, don't you? He's your best friend." "More than anyone," I said, the words tasting like poison. I picked up the pen. "Here's to our future." I signed the papers, but not the real ones. I had printed a duplicate set from the scans Mark had sent me. The real ones were safely hiding. I slid the signed, worthless copies across the desk to her. Her smile was blinding. She leaned over and kissed me, a Judas kiss that I endured without flinching. "This is going to be the best year yet, Tom. I can feel it." "I know," I said, my voice steady. "I know it will be." The anniversary dinner was a masterclass of deception. I played the part of the doting, unsuspecting husband. I gave her the necklace. She wept with feigned joy. I toasted to our love, to our future, to our friends. Every word was a lie, a carefully placed stone in the trap I was building. The next 2 weeks were the longest of my life. I hired a private investigator and a forensic accountant. I let Mark think the fund transfer was in process, citing bank delays. I recorded every phone call. The evidence I gathered was a monument to their depravity. Photos of Clara and Mark at my father's lake house, bank records for the Shell Corporation, text messages that laid their entire plan bare. The day of the confrontation arrived. I told them I was hosting a small dinner party to celebrate the successful investment. I invited Clara, Mark, and as a special surprise, Evelyn. They arrived together, beaming, triumphant. They walked into my house, my home, like conquering heroes. I led them to the living room. There were no appetizers, no wine, just me, and a television screen, dark and waiting. My lawyer was waiting in the study. "What's this, Tom?" Clara asked, her smile faltering.